Okay, YouTube, this is my second video on two-way tables and using them to, calculate probabilities. And so after looking at our last video here in which we were able to calculate these probabilities using this two-way table and saw how easy that was, it's pretty apparent how we can use two-way tables to help us calculate probabilities and how they're very convenient. What I want to do in this video is formally define some vocabulary here and then talk about some of the common procedures that we use when we construct these two-way tables. So let's go ahead and start with a two-way table, what a two-way table is. We say that a two-way table is a frequency table, and by frequency it really is stating how often each event occurs, how frequent it is. So we say it's a frequency table that displays data collected from one source but that belongs to two different categories. And so one category we're going to represent with rows, the other one will always represent with columns. Now with respect to what a two-way table looks like, I'm actually, before reading the joint and marginal frequency here, I'm going to look at this example with you here and then we'll talk about joint and marginal frequencies. We say considering a survey of freshmen and sophomores about whether they shall attend a school concert, what we want to do here is take a look at this. And so we would say attendance in class, we have either attending or not attending would be our first category there, and freshman and sophomore. And so what you're seeing here, the first thing I want to touch on is this word or this phrase here, joint frequency. And so when you look at joint frequency, really it's just a fancy word for each entry in the table, okay? So each entry in the table, you could really call it a frequency because it's telling me how frequent it is that, say, a freshman attends this concert, or how frequent it is a freshman doesn't attend the concert. But these are going to be referred to as our joint frequencies. Those are just all the frequencies in the table. Now, when we talk about a marginal frequency, the root word here, and this is just helpful to remember what a marginal thing is here, is it's in the margin. So we say that these are the sums of the rows and columns, and we'll call them marginal frequencies. So in terms of finding and interpreting marginal frequencies here, essentially what we're going to say is the marginal frequencies always occur in the margin of the page. So for instance, our total over here on the right, these would be our marginal frequencies for class, okay? And then down here at the bottom, what we'll do is we'll extend a row here. So I'm gonna have to kind of write over what we have here. We'll go across. But we'd say that these bottom two entries down here, these would represent the marginal frequencies for attendance. And so when you hear marginal frequency, it's like basically the sum of the frequencies in the row or the column. So our marginal frequencies, we want to find and interpret these. Basically, we'd say 25 plus 44 here. Well, 44 plus 20 would be 64, plus 5 more is 69. But we'd say 80 plus 32 here looks like 112. If we were to look down here, we'd say 80 plus 25. In this column, we'd get 105. And if we look down this column here, we'd get 44 plus 32 would be 76. And so if we were to sum up our 69 and 112 here, 181 I think is what we get here. It's the same thing we get if we sum across the bottom here. And so this would be the overall total here down on the bottom. But in terms of interpreting our marginal frequencies, if we were to interpret this 69 here, we'd say, well, what does this 69 really represent? Essentially, since it's the sum of our freshman row, this would be our total number of freshmen. So we have total freshmen. Okay. Our marginal frequency for this row would be the total sophomores. Okay, so sophomores. Okay. Looking down here, we would say that interpreting this marginal frequency, this would be the total attending. And of course, if we look at the sum of this column here, this marginal frequency, this would be the total not attending. So when we look at marginal frequencies and joint frequencies just say, what the entry is. Marginal frequencies tell us totals. So what I'd like to do is this example one here. What I want to do is consider another survey similar to the one above where we have 106 juniors and 114 seniors responding. What I want to know is of those, what are the marginal frequencies if we're told that of those 42 juniors and 72 seniors plan on attending? And so we're going to make our table here, our two-way table, which means we're going to need two columns. So I'm going to go ahead and make my columns. We're also going to want two rows. And so let's go ahead and set this up here. I suppose we would have attending, and not attending. Also, we would have a total. Let's go ahead and switch colors on this one, total here. And then we would say that over here we had freshman or sophomore. So let's go ahead and use what we've been told from the problem to help us complete our two-way table here. Sophomore. And so we would say we'd have a total down here. Total. Our marginal frequencies would be in the margins here. So knowing what we know, it looks like we have 106 total juniors and 114 total seniors. So, sorry, juniors and seniors. I guess I need to change these here. Juniors and seniors. Okay. But that being said, we have 106 total juniors. So this would be our value over here in that sum of that row, and 114 total seniors. So our total number of respondents then must have been, it looks like 220 total respondents. So now that being said, let's go ahead and look at what we have here. It says of those, 42 juniors and 77 seniors plan on attending. So with respect to our attending column, we have 42 juniors that are going to attend and 77 seniors that are also going to attend. So what we could do is we could find our marginal frequencies down here. By summing our columns, we would say that 2 plus 7, 9, 4 plus 7 is 11. So we get 119 here. And with respect to what we get over here, well, here's what we know. We know that if we take up the total attending and the total not attending for juniors, we'd have the total number of juniors. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our 106, we're going to subtract off 42, and that should leave us with 64. That means that we have 64 people not attending here. And so looking at this here, we would say 114 total seniors. If we take off the 77 that are attending, let's see, 114, 114 minus 77, don't want to make any mistakes here, we would get 37. So we have 37 here, and in terms of a grand total, it would have to end in a 1, let's see here, 101. And so adding these up here, we get our 220. Adding these marginal frequencies up, we get 220. We have all of our joint frequencies in the middle. So in terms of interpreting these, we would just say total juniors. I'm going to abbreviate this time. We say this is the total seniors. And then we have total going, attending. And then we have the total not attending. Okay, not attending. And so what we're going to do in this next video is we're going to talk about how we could change these frequencies into what we call relative frequencies in order to better interpret the probabilities of these events actually occurring. Cheers.